me was like super interesting.
David, I don't like that you said esports is dumb right before I clicked live.
I'm sorry,
on the
esports
Twitch
are dumb.
I was front row at season 3 of RLCS. Front middle.
David, you can't just say things on Twitch like esports is dumb. You'll get our channel taken down.
True.
It's making us edgy. All right.
Actually,
hey Diablo.
Oh yo.
Howdy, everyone.
Is Diablo already in that chat?
Oh
my goodness.
Oh yeah.
No,
he shows up based on
I have to say I love the Twitch chat so much more than YouTube. Like
it's great. It's
way
so much
better.
Fun. It's so much fun.
It's so much better.
It's not hard to be better than YouTube though.
Yeah.
So true. how people say you can set your clock by the trains in Japan. Well, I think we can set our live stream clock by when Diablo shows up.
It's true. Immediately. That's when he shows up.
Thing in the world.
We could start late. We could start early. Diablo would be there, and so we'd be on time no matter what. It's great.
Yeah, I'd be lost without him.
Okay. I guess we could I'll give it a couple minutes here, see if people want to pop into the chat.
I'm gonna take a picture of my setup right now because it looks absolutely stupid.
Okay, so the socials did go out. I
hope all of these devices are muted.
Oh,
they caught that multi-state bank robber apparently.
The what?
The traveling bandit. The guy's robbing a bunch of banks.
I have no idea which time.
I feel like you can't really say you're an American if you don't follow a good bank robbery story once in a while. And it's just part of being a patriot. Bank robberies.
I'm posting my setup to the podcast channel so you guys can laugh at me.
Hey Diablo, thanks for the bits.
Oh wow.
Already got the
Oh yeah, it
going.
does. It's basically like a standing meal tray.
Basically, yeah.
Totally.
Pretty sure that's exactly what it is, and they just rebranded it.
Which is fine. Cool. It works for me. I'm good with it.
Hello to Tiny Taco.
Hi, Tiny Taco. He used to be in the r/Android Discord. I chatted with him fairly often. But then
what's a Discord?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Grandpa.
I know.
I used the Ventrilo, and we liked it. It was just fine.
We had to teach David what Twitch is, so
we did
at a time.
David didn't know what Twitch was.
I mean, I kind of knew what it was, but like, to me, it's kind of like, all the kids, they say like mood, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm like 2 years younger than you, David, and I know what all this shit means.
I know what it means, but like, it's just like, well, I feel,
David,
I'm starting to feel old. Where's my hair?
David, do you stan Twitter? I mean Twitch. Do you stan it?
What's a stan? Like,
does Cody know what I'm saying?
I don't know what that means either.
Okay, I'm speaking yeah. Okay, so me and Cody will just talk to each other in our secret millennial language. Cody's older than all of you. You guys should be embarrassed about yourself.
Cody's young at heart.
I think I am.
He is.
I also look younger than a lot of people, so
yeah.
That counts for rude.
Hey, did I say I was talking about you, David? I mean I am, but did I?
Getting the podcast off to a good start this week.
I'm leaving the show.
This is why David's the guest.
I guess we can get started. This is the Android Police.
David.
God damn it, Corbin.
I'm sorry.
The energy's gone now.
I'm sorry.
This is the Android Police podcast, and we're going to get started now because now's as good a time as any. I'm David Ruddock.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I'm Ryan Hager.
And this week on the show, it's phone stuff. I hate to spoil it for everybody. I know you like it all to be a surprise, but we'll start with the Galaxy S10 because it is going to be the next big thing.
Boring.
Yeah. It does seem pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie. It actually seems like the most boring thing Samsung's done in a while.
It's got a hole punch.
Yeah. Do you like holes in your screen? Well, you'll love the new Samsung.
We punched some holes in there in that screen, and
the big one has 2 holes punched in it.
An oblong hole.
An oblong hole, yes.
So I think the thing to talk about, and Droid Life did a post on this today, and admittedly it was slightly obnoxious, but also completely right. The S10 Plus, the fat notch, it has a fat notch. What do we call that? A fotch? Like it's got a big fat cutout hole thing. It's an oblong. It's a pill.
It is.
I just call it a reason people aren't going to buy that phone.
It's honestly like even I don't get me wrong. I would prefer to have the S10 Plus, and I'd be like, oh, that's ugly, but like I don't care that much. But it's ugly. It's real ugly.
They're both pretty ugly.
I like how the status bar is still ginormous on these phones.
Like we made fun of Essential for the ridiculous notification bar size, and
you could fit 2 goddamn rows of icons in that status bar, and they better.
Yeah, you could turn it into the whole like Windows taskbar where you could have like 3 stacks of status bar icons.
You know, it'd be amazing if they could fit 2 stacks of icons in it. It'd be Artem's favorite phone ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Get that network status indicator up there.
It doesn't have enough RAM though. It's going to have less than like 18 gigs of RAM, so it's
not enough for Artem.
It's so ugly. So I'm still curious to see what they're changing with camera, if the display is any better, because those are areas where Samsung is usually pushing the envelope a little bit, and so I'm still excited. Like, you know, on the S10 Plus, it's a 3 camera setup on the rear, so I'm very curious about that, definitely. And there's been rumors going around that like it'll have the reverse wireless charging, which is kind of dumb, but like at least Samsung's just adding crap to the phones, you know.
That's always been their MO. I feel
it has. Adding crap has been Samsung's MO for a long time. And in that spirit, apparently they're going to put a cryptocurrency wallet in it? Why?
I have a theory about this.
Okay.
I don't think Samsung's doing it. I think Qualcomm is doing it. I think that Qualcomm because they've got the whole trust zone and the whole isolated section of the SoC. I bet that Qualcomm is pushing crypto key storage. And that this is just a symptom of the fact that all of the phones with the 855 are going to have this feature.
So I can store my $8 worth of Bitcoin on my S10.
Well, we'll see if the Exynos has the same feature. It might be doing that in software or something else. Like, it seems weird to me that Samsung would do something like this now.
Yeah, but it's like if this was a year ago, maybe people would use it. But that ship has sailed.
Well, I mean, you have to remember the products are planned out far enough ahead that like when they were planning it, they're probably like, oh, crypto's so hot.
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin dropped like 60%. And they're like, crypto is not that hot.
I think 60% is generous.
Well, if it is like dedicated hardware, if they're doing key storage in like isolated, protected environment, they'd have to be working together with Qualcomm or they'd have to have some other like chip in there that's doing that.
And I think hopefully that it'll have a really convincing like bank vault sound effect when you open the app, where it's like and very Scrooge McDuck style. So what else do we know about them? They have in-screen fingerprint scanners.
Ron says it's with Samsung Knox, so it could be something that Samsung's doing in particular. It'd be weird if it's all in software, but they could be.
Yeah, the school of hard knocks. So the in-screen fingerprint scanner on these phones, Qualcomm is making those. Like I know that for a fact at this point, and they're ultrasonic, which are the Qualcomm makes ultrasonic fingerprint scanners, and they're supposed to be substantially more secure than the optical ones, at least theoretically. So nothing on the back other than the camera module, which really sticks out now that it's the only thing on the back. It honestly is. This is not a pretty phone.
No,
like it is brutal.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it a couple weeks ago, but someone pointed out that this looks like a mid-range Xiaomi phone.
Also, hi Ron.
It's got beyond
Ron.
You can be on the show. Like just want a link. Just Hangouts me.
I'll send you the link right now. We'll send you the link right now. Be on the show.
You can come talk to us about something you feel
stay as long as you want. You leave. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's cool. It's fine.
It bugs me that I don't know. So much about this phone bugs me. They've got a giant chin, first of all, on the smaller one. The top one still has like a bezel on the top. And then they have to make the status bar ginormous because instead of having a notch, they now have padding around the camera that they have to make the status bar the same height.
I don't know if the chin is larger on the smaller one. It looks like it might just be an effect of the lighting causing. There's a little bit of reflection on one that isn't present on the other. I think they're the same size.
Yeah, it looks like they're the same size, but it takes up more space on the smaller one
Proportionally.
like it's the same height on both phones, but because the smaller phone is smaller,
Either way, it's like a bundle of compromises.
It looks like a terrible phone. They've still got the headphone jack though, so I do have to give Samsung some brownie points for that, but that's it.
Yeah, Ron apparently will be joining us. It might be noisy because he has a 3D printer going, because Ron is a huge nerd.
If he's too loud, we'll just give him the boot. It's fine.
So the other question the S10s aren't answering is what's happening with the foldable phone, which there's a rumor on Sam Mobile today that they're going to release the foldable phone in Korea, and it's going to come in several colors. Okay. And it's going to have the 5Gs. I wonder, like, are they going to release it in America? I'm no longer so sure. I wonder if it's going to be so expensive and so kind of bad that they can really only afford to launch it in Korea, because that's what Samsung and LG have done for years. If they think a product is a little too out there and a little too forward facing, it's launch in Korea. Like the Galaxy K Zoom, like that was basically only Korea as far as I know. That was the one with it was basically a mini point and shoot. It was also a phone. It was cool. I actually saw one on BART once in San Francisco, and I was like, holy shit, that guy has a Galaxy K Zoom. And he probably worked for Samsung. It was a Korean person. I can only assume he worked for Samsung.
Wow, David. Are you Richard now?
That's not directly racist. That's like a Korean person with a Galaxy K Zoom. Come on. What are the odds? And that person's in America. Like, it's probably a Samsung employee.
Okay, Richard. All right. Let's move on.
So I do wonder what's going to happen with the foldable phone. We'll obviously find out. I think what's going to happen. My theory is this: it Unpacked on February 20th. They'll unveil the S10, the S10 Plus, and the S10 Lite, or the S10 Shitty, or whatever they want to call it. And then they'll be like, and the folding phone. And they won't announce anything about it, but they'll show it and they'll hold it and they'll be like, look at it. It folds. And then they'll be like, yes, very exciting. All right, bye-bye, everybody. And I think that'll be it for the folding phone. I don't think it's going to be like a big retail thing.
It's going to be like $2,000.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you send Ron the link?
You want me to send? I'll do that. I'll do it right now.
Send him a link. Come on, give him a link. Give Ron the link. It's fine. It isn't. I bet it's not as noisy as Ron thinks.
We've got special guest Ron and special guest David.
You're gonna join the podcast, or else.
We are blessed today with so many special guests. I mean, maybe Artem will come on next.
Artem and special guest Vice President Mike Pence. That's about how likely that is. So, hey, did you know this podcast is broadcast on Twitch?
We've had that time with the podcast, haven't we?
Yeah, it's really weird. Twitch is a thing, and if you want to watch us live, we will answer your questions. We answer questions live in Twitch chat if you have them, and also Twitch chat is just kind of fun. But even if you don't want to watch the show live, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get a free Twitch subscription on your account every month. And if you subscribe to our channel using your Twitch account, you do have to link it to your Amazon account. I promise it's not complicated. You can Google it. It's super simple.
We have the link for it below the stream, David.
We do. Okay, use the link below the stream. And when you subscribe to us, actually, you're supporting the channel. It gives us money. You're not paying anything. It's completely free. I promise. There's no weird kind of issue with that. Corbin is sinking in his chair at this moment. Oh no, he's standing.
I'm standing. I'm at my standing desk.
I see. You're doing the elevator trick.
I am.
So if you subscribe to us on Twitch, you really do help support the channel. And also, this awesome thing happens where a giant Pixel 3 XL notch comes down on the stream, and Oh, now certain people.
God damn it, Cody! You stole my thunder. God
who
damn
are
it.
on the show are resubscribing.
Whatever.
And that
Whatever.
that is a good thing to remember. If you have subscribed in the past, you have to resubscribe every month because Twitch subscriptions don't automatically renew. And when you resubscribe, you help support us again. And by that I mean it gives us money again. It's really helpful, and you keep the show going. So we do appreciate it. Twitch.tv/Android Police. That's an important thing to know. That's where you go to do the thing. There, did I do it?
Doesn't
Probably
say
not
you
our
subscribed in the
probably
chat.
not our best Twitch shill.
It was
fine.
blame Cody. It's his fault.
It was average.
Oh, I accept all blame.
I distracted David.
Speaking of things that are average, the Moto G7 basically got leaked completely. There's nothing we don't know about this phone now, aside from an exact release date
and pricing for some of them.
Yeah.
So let's see, this was about a couple days ago. This was the 18th. So it was someone. Okay, it doesn't matter who leaked it. But we got pictures of all 4 G7 phones because there'll be 4 this year because I think Motorola has to keep making new phones or they die. We still got the G7, G7 Plus, and the G7 Play, but now we have a G7 Power, which has a big battery in it, and that's it. That's its only thing. Also, every tier has different colors. So if you want a red one, that's only on the Plus. The red one actually does look very nice. Also, because this is Motorola, some of these have 2 cameras, some of them don't. Some of these have a droplet notch, and some of them have a big honking iPhone X notch. So,
and none of them are going to get updates.
No, none of them will get updates. I'm sure maybe 2 of these will make their way to America. And supposedly European pricing for the G7 Play, which is I think the cheapest. No, the G7 Play will be about €149, which is around $170.
That is the cheapest one, yeah.
Yeah, and the G7 Power with the big battery will be €209, which is about $238.
That G7 Power is the standout one among them. Definitely,
Yeah.
that 5,000 milliamp hour battery, nice.
The 625 is how old now?
632.
The G7 Power has a 625 though.
No, the new leak indicates 632. I think it will vary by market.
Okay.
The newest leak from CNET says it'll have a Snapdragon 632.
Because this says just the G7 Play will have the 632.
That's such a Motorola thing, is to put different processors in the phones for different markets.
The new leak says they'll all have 632s except the Plus, which will have a 636. So, I mean, the Plus is what we're going to get in America unlocked, I assume. That's usually how it works.
Well, I think we only got the normal one this year, right?
No, we got previous. Yeah.
No.
I know you could buy the G5 Plus, but I thought the G6 was.
No, it was weird. So I don't know. Moto makes it so confusing. The SKUs are crazy. Ron is asking where his invitation.
I sent it to him in Slack, man. I sent it to him in Slack.
In Slack?
Yeah.
Ron's not in Slack.
Ron's in Slack.
He's in the VIP.
Oh, he's in the VIP room.
Yeah.
That's the room I am not. I completely left that. I muted it at first, and then I was like, oh, I really don't need to be in here.
Because Ron doesn't follow me on Twitter, so I can't PM it to him.
Oh, he follows me. I can DM him.
Okay.
I'm cool.
Well,
Ron thinks I'm cool.
Figure it out. So these G7 phones, obviously, they're important because they sell so many of them, and in America, they're now Nokia is a thing now, so Moto's no longer the only decent, cheaper unlocked phone you can buy. But Moto for a long time was, and the specs on these seem competitive. I really wonder though if they're going to compare well to Nokia's portfolio this year.
Nokia phones get updates. Based on the software perspective alone, I don't see why anyone would buy one of these Lenovo phones.
That said, Ryan had a really crap experience with what was it, the new 6.1 was it? I forget what it was. Yeah, and that was upsetting to see because I like play with that phone in pre-release form and it seemed pretty okay, but yeah, apparently the performance is just like a dog.
Hey,
Sad.
Hey, Ron.
Special
Hey,
guest Ron.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how loud is the 3D printer?
Can't
over?
hear it
Can't
at
hear it.
all.
Oh,
Yeah,
for real?
I can
no
hear it.
sound.
Oh, okay,
No sound.
awesome. Well, hi everybody.
Mics
Yo.
are good at isolating noise.
Yeah.
Ron, are you going to MWC?
Hell no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not even going to Samsung.
Did you go to CES?
Nope, don't need to. I can cover it all from home or from New York. There's no reason to drive
With
or fly all the
Team
way out to these crazy places. Plus, we have a shoestring budget, and I do everything myself, and we don't need to spend all that money.
I
It's fine.
challenge you, sir, to a shoestring budget duel. Our entire CES budget was $3,500.
We have these events, and you guys roll up with like an army of people. Okay, it's just
An
me
army.
going to these places.
An army, all three of us.
Yeah, okay, but like Google I/O happens, and you have like 25,000 articles a day, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, well, I hope I can get my third article done.
That's why we hired child slaves in like Southeast Asia. Who else is going to write about this stuff?
Thanks, David.
Corbin, don't be silly. You're in Southeast America.
I know. I think it was Jeff who made the joke like Android police is legally like a farm, so you can employ children. Like a family-owned farm.
That joke resonates too much. Yeah, so the G7s, they're going to be a thing. I think we'll see them at MWC, and American pricing will probably follow after that. More interesting and open to endless speculation.
Ooh.
So Google hired some Apple engineers, some high-ranking guy. He's been at Apple like 14 years. He's a product manager on a number of Mac OS products. And he said in his post on LinkedIn that he was hired to bring Fuchsia to market. What does it mean? I don't even know what it means. What does that mean? How do you bring an open source OS to market?
Well,
Like, what do you do?
Okay, well, when we're talking about Google, we have to make the distinction between products that actually appear and just vanish into the wind, never to be seen. So it seems like Fuchsia will actually come out at some point, maybe.
So I
Possibly.
think last we heard Fuchsia was going to come out in 2020 for smart speakers first, and then slowly work its way up to like phones and stuff. That was either a Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal report. They were testing it on the stupid Home Hub, supposedly. But
Yes,
right now,
they were.
Fuchsia's in the worst state it's ever been in. Like, they took all the source code offline, all the good source code. So nobody has any idea what's going on.
Interesting.
So
I mean-
I will pitch the theory that maybe what they might want him for is to organize bringing Fuchsia as like a consumer facing OS, in which case they might be giving this guy kind of carte blanche to talk to all the different departments, developer teams, and make sure like apps are compatible and like bring integration with all the services. Because I mean, if you're picking up an Apple engineer and it's going to be like a big hype thing, that's kind of the one thing Apple's really, really good at.
Well, is this guy an engineer or is he like a developer advocate? Or
No, he's an engineer.
okay,
He's been with Apple. He started as basically like doing like, code cleanup on Mac OS products. And now he leads like AirPlay and a couple other Mac products like that are for OS X, or not OS X, but Mac OS. So no, he's big deal. Like, not VP level, but very high up in the food chain at Apple. So it's interesting to me. So to me, the question, more from a practical perspective is Google, they can't like force the hardware teams to adopt Fuchsia. The hardware teams are already using the tools and products available to them, which are Android and Chrome, basically. And I mean, smart displays seem to be doing pretty okay, even though apparently Google did its own thing for the Home Hub, and everybody else is using something else on Android things. It's very confusing to me. I feel like Google is. I know why they don't want to explain it, because it's too early. but like the lack of clarity around what Fuchsia is going to be and why it's desirable is very hard to understand. Like I know one of the things, like it can be a real-time OS. That's something that they're very excited about. But Google has developed a version of Android that works in cars, and it's going to be on a Volvo. Cars are not something you can just be like, never mind, we're switching to a different platform. Like this takes like 5-7 years. So I'm very confused.
Yeah, I think it's Linux free, it's Java free. It has a few things that maybe Google cares about, but this is the same company that makes 10,000 messaging apps at a time. So it's not like you can ever look at a situation and be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. No, this is just what Google is doing because they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, because it's Google, like they'll let their engineers and product managers say whatever the hell they want about it's super important. It's going to matter a lot. And then a year later, well, we're going to wind this down.
It also gives them a lot more control because like Ron was saying, this doesn't have Linux, this doesn't have Java. Google controls everything from top to bottom here, including the license, including how much of the source is public, and including everything that goes into it. They're not beholden to the Linux kernel maintainers for what gets included. There's been issues with updates and Qualcomm and which Linux kernel versions have long-term support for subsequent updates, right? So none of that'll be a concern with this.
Yeah, and they're building all sorts of Android app compatibility, so you could eventually probably use it as like an in-place replacement someday. I think the big takeaway here, though, is that they were able to give this dude from Apple, who was working on a real product, they gave him a good enough sales pitch that he was like, okay, I will leave this real actual product and go join the Fuchsia team, which makes me think, I mean, either they lied to him or gave him a whole bunch of money, or like they're really serious about this.
Yeah.
And segue, shout out to some gadget guy, Juan, in the chat. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Long time no see. But anyway, yeah, on Fuchsia, to me, like the whole thing with Fuchsia, I think IoT makes the most sense as the launch platform, but I'm not sure like what Google, like what I just there's nothing. They've not done a good job messaging. Like here's where we're gonna start, and that's what Fuchsia needs at this point. It needs a goalpost, and Google's not publicly provided one.
But do they care about that right now? Do they need to? I mean, we're asking about it. We want to know it, but Google isn't beholden to tell anyone about that right now. They're pretty free just to say this is something that they intend to do, and they can leave it at that until they actually want to put this in front of people. At which point, if they put something in front of people and it has cheap or low-cost hardware, great performance, and everything works, which, okay, I know that this is not happening, but if it did, that's pretty much all consumers are supposed to care about. So right now, they don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that, definitely. I don't know.
And Google is definitely, just to throw it in, Google is also becoming a lot like Apple in the let's keep stuff secret as long as we can because we embarrass ourselves when we don't.
Well, let's so bad at it.
I know. Like, let's keep it secret. Let's keep it secret. By the way, every commit shows up on GitHub.
It's so secret.
Well, it shows up on GitHub until they remove it again.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't always work for them, though. Like the Hangouts cancellation, keeping that secret was not a good idea.
That is definitely one person having a tizzy fit over how their job is being portrayed in the media. Honestly, I was talking to somebody about this today. Here's the thing. The Hangouts thing, I think, only happened. I think the product manager, had a public blow up. I don't want to be political, but you know what? I'm going to be political for a minute. With Donald Trump in the White House, it's okay to just be an asshole to everybody who works in media now. Like, because everything is fake news. And so you can just be a dick to whoever you want that works in the media. Because guess what? Everything's up for debate. The factual narrative doesn't matter anymore. I'm not going to get deeper into it than that, but I have definitely noticed it's far transcended politics to the point where companies can just say something and be like, "Nah, we don't agree with that viewpoint because we don't accept those facts." Like, and that's definitely what's happening with Hangouts, where this guy's like, "Nah, I don't agree with basically the entire story that is very factually supported here because my feelings don't agree with it." Like that's what's happening. It's very upsetting. And also,
The Allo guys were huge dicks too. I feel like that runs in the Google messaging DNA.
A little bit.
yeah.
Okay, so David, I do agree with that, but to be fair, you and I both know there is a quality of reporting issue that is also going on in many different fields. So it's not like they aren't always justified in calling out some of the bad reporting.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. But the thing with Hangouts has been a very special case, and one that's been quite annoying to us in the media. So I guess, well, we'll get to Hangouts in just a minute here, but let's talk about Chrome. There is a new update that basically a technical change may make content blocking systems like uBlock Origin not workable any longer. And Corbin has a better understanding of this than probably all of us.
Yeah, so current Chrome extensions use what's called Manifest version 2, which was introduced in 2011 or 2012, somewhere around there, which means that there haven't been any breaking changes to how Chrome extensions work since then. And Google mentioned last year that they were starting to work on Manifest version 3, which would presumably have some major changes. And one of the proposed changes drew some attention because the developer of uBlock Origin actually responded on the bug tracker. So in Manifest v3, one of the changes is to replace an API that uBlock Origin and a bunch of other extensions use to intercept network requests. So like if you have an ad blocker installed on Chrome, what happens is that Chrome will send every network request to the extension, and the extension decides what to do with it and then send it back. But that is
the scariest API on earth, by the way.
I know. I totally agree. That was not planned well, especially with the kind of crap that shows up on the Chrome Web Store. It's like every 6 weeks someone finds another cryptocurrency miner.
Yeah.
So Google's trying to change that. My understanding is that the new API, basically extensions give Chrome the list, like the filter list, and Chrome does it. But the filter options are extremely basic. The uBlock developer said they basically just copied the AdBlock Plus filtering scheme. It's like the formatting is identical, which is kind of funny, but the uBlock Origin developer complained because it would break his extension because uBlock uses more complex filtering. And a couple other developers chimed in on the bug report and saying, yeah, this would break my stuff too. So Google, to my knowledge, hasn't said what they're doing differently. The page where this discussion is happening is still public, which is shocking to me because usually whenever someone covers like the Chromium bug report, it like instantly gets shut off public viewing. So I'm surprised this is still up. But yeah, the new API is still under development, so this might change, but I don't know. Again, like Ron said, this is like really sketchy behavior that probably shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. But now so much relies on it, including uBlock. It's kind of a tough situation.
The other thing the guy said was that like they were going to implement the AdBlock Plus filtering, but the filters that you could supply Chrome were so small that it wouldn't be able to fit EasyList, which is like the biggest, which is like the regular AdBlock filter that a lot of these subscribe to. So I might be okay with like a built-in AdBlock style thing, but you're not even going to be able to do that with it.
Yeah, he mentioned the current limit is 30,000 rules. And that's it. That's all you get. That's all the extension gets.
Yeah, if you want to kill Chrome's market share, this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, with all like the 5% of Chrome users that probably use AdBlock.
Well, it's
also that's the same group of users that convinces 30% of the others to use AdBlock.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's how Chrome got to where it is now in the first place. All of us geeks saying, oh no, stop clicking on the blue E, install this instead.
Yeah.
and it
So
will be fine.
So statistic, to help put some light on this. So for AP, which admittedly is a techie audience, our desktop users, half of them use ad
Yep.
block.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're something like that too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a
On
bunch.
mobile, obviously, seeing those ads. So thank you very much. But
Yeah.
on desktop, everybody uses an ad blocker. Like it's many people.
Yeah. And again, we're like the audience that knows what an ad block is. Like I want to see the stats on like BuzzFeed or something. Or I don't know, some CNN. I don't know what a good site is that's general population looks at.
I'm pretty sure actually on CNN somebody makes money every time you see Anderson Cooper's face. I think that's how that works.
Also, we should say thank you to This Is Brandon 4 for subscribing.
Yes, thank you. This is Brandon.
Thank you.
You subscribed and you did the Nachi thing. So let's talk about something else very frustrating that upsets everybody. Hangouts. That whole thing is, oh boy, they just
touched on it.
They opened a can of worms, and the worms are basically they're on fire, and I don't know, the worms are like venomous and they're trying to bite everybody. Like I'm trying to paint a picture here for you, and I'm doing a really bad job.
Venomous worms, I think those are snakes.
Yes, venomous fireworms, excuse me, which I believe live in the undersea vents in our oceans. But Google has announced that starting in October, it will be shuffling people gently from Google Suite to Hangouts chat off of regular Hangouts. So G Suite users, G Apps users, some people will start to get the shove. And then they're like, but we're not announcing anything about when consumers are going to get the boot. But like Google, so the thing to me that's so nuts about the story, our original headline was that Google announced like a death timeline for Google Hangouts, and Google's like, no, and they reach out to us and like that's not the characterization of like what it is. We're just announcing things for G Suite and G Apps users, and the consumer version of Hangouts, it's gonna live forever, and they didn't say that. But basically, that's what they want everybody to believe, is that it's never going to go away. But why would you push people off of it in your enterprise and business platforms if you're not going to do this? You're going to do the same thing to consumers eventually. Google is just so terrified that they won't say.
That's interesting.
No.
I know they bothered a couple other sites with the headline corrections too, but they never emailed.
We got like an urgent phone call.
Really?
Wow.
So they never talked to me about it. And I would guess that's because I posted later than everybody else, like usual. And maybe they realized by then that the consensus was that the Hangouts were shutting down and they weren't gonna like get ahead of this.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. We changed our headline a little bit to be more vague, but
no, mine was as dramatic as possible.
That's the way it should be.
No, we got tons of clicks on that too, and like rightly so, because honestly, Google deserves a lot of scrutiny on this.
Yeah, it's weird to call it like a smooth transition too, because like group chats aren't going to work, and I don't know. Is there any interoperability with the two Hangouts right now?
I don't believe so.
So we talked about this a bit on the Q&A. The two systems don't talk to each other, but feature-wise, there's really nothing preventing the Hangouts team from basically re-implementing all of the existing Hangouts features, with the exception of like video chat.
You can say that about anything.
Yeah, but they can
That's
basically keep the app working exactly as it has and just basically hook it into Hangouts chat. Like, it is not impossible to do that sort of thing.
But they won't.
And sorry. Also, like calling, like international calling was the Hangouts thing, which I don't think chat does. But I mean, these are not the fundamental parts of chat or Hangouts. So it's not impossible to do this. It's just whether or not they do that. There was talk for a little bit that they might be, they might actually just update the Hangouts app itself, and people might not actually know it changed.
We're going to keep the Google Talk package. It will be like 13 years of recycling the same package name.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, but I think the issue is what it comes down to, as Juan pointed out, Chet, nobody has trust in Google anymore about how this
No.
is being handled, and that is why people will leave Hangouts. I have no doubt that when the transition happens and the UI changes, people are like, nope, I'm getting out of here. And honestly, like, there's no clarity about how the Google Voice and Project Fi integration is going to happen. No clarity about history. And those are two really big things for a lot of the diehard people. Like, if you don't know what's going to happen with that stuff, like, okay, if you switch to Hangouts chat, is that saved in your Gmail still? If it's not, then a lot of people will probably be like, nope, I have no reason to use this anymore because my chats aren't searchable any longer. I realize they could do this, but it's one of those things where, yeah, I can see so many reasons in so many ways that changes in the transition would just cause a lot of people to like, nah, never mind. I'm just going to switch platforms. So,
Okay, you just said when the transition happens. That's the thing. I don't think it's when, it's happening now. Like, everybody is already saying, "Oh, well, we don't know what's happening. Screw this. I'm done. I'm moving."
That's
Everybody I
exactly-
know is
Yeah.
doing that right now.
I
They're
I
not
s-
waiting for the transition. They're already bailing.
yeah. I already switched
Assuming
all
they
my
didn't.
I already
Sorry.
switched all my contacts to SMS because I'm done with Google. I'm checking out. I don't know what's going on there anymore. Like, there might be 3 more messaging apps tomorrow. Who knows?
yeah, honestly, for most people, I use SMS or Facebook Messenger now because I know Facebook Messenger is not going anywhere. And as long as I don't delete my profile on Facebook, like, it's a pretty reliable means of communication. SMS is, if you got somebody's phone number, you can get in touch. And Hangouts anymore, like, yeah, there are people I still do use it with. And after it goes away, especially on G Suite and G apps, which, Android Police obviously uses, like, I don't know, like, I may just start referring people like Telegram or whatever, or something like that. I I don't see any positive future for Hangouts in this transition. Like, this is 100% damage control and just trying to avoid upsetting some people. But the reality is, everybody's just as upset as they would be if Google was like, "We're shutting it down like next month."
Yeah,
That's
and then they're gonna throw, like, Hangouts chat is not even a good Slack competitor right now. Like, it's really beta and like has all sorts of weird UI issues and stuff like that. And they're gonna throw this extra use case at it where, oh, now you have to be a consumer instant messaging program. Like, it seems like the end result of Hangouts chat covering both things is just gonna be such a huge disaster, and everybody's gonna hate it. Like,
What-
I don't want a Slack clone as my instant messenger.
yeah, no, obviously it wasn't designed for that.
Yeah.
What happened is they took the brand and, like, all right, we're going to use this brand for our corporate, enterprise communications platform because it's recognizable. And then completely separately, someone was like, yeah, we gotta kill Hangouts. And everybody's like, well, what do we do with that? And they're like, well, you got something named Hangouts, right? Just put them there. Like, it's clear the products were never designed to actually replace Hangouts. They were
What if-
designed to be corporate communication platforms.
Oh, wait. You know what I just thought of? What happens if they take the Hangouts package and they update it to Allo?
Everybody can just go to Allo. Totally
Yeah.
fine.
Google's like, it has stickers. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
So before we get too bogged down in this, because it is something to get so easily stuck in, let's talk about these stupid, no button, no notch, no anything, no port phones.
The
So
world's
Vivo
most
has
useless cell
one,
phone.
and Meizu has one. So
Yeah.
I think it's curious and interesting, and I think it's also stupid, but it's weird. It's really, really weird.
Oh, I think we see an iPhone 15 exactly like this.
Yep,
Probably.
definitely. No, that to me is like what's so interesting about it is because obviously these companies have picked up on where Apple wants to go. That's why AirPower exists. I've said that since they unveiled it. This is
Yeah.
just Apple being
Air
like,
power does not exist, for the record.
it does. It's coming out later this year, Ron. Trust me. It only gets really, really hot now.
Apple's still trying to figure out how to build an Qi charger.
Yeah,
They're
whereas
like-
Samsung is immediately like, put a fan on it. Apple's like, no, it is not sexy enough. Fans aren't
God.
sexy, but
It just revs up like an old HP tower when you turn it on.
I do think it is the future in a certain sense. I think getting rid of the buttons is a big no-no. I think that is a bad idea.
I know that it's interesting from like a design perspective, and people are like, "Oh, it's so elegant," but from a usability perspective, it's pointless.
No. It's like when Lenovo made that laptop where the entire bottom part was a touchscreen, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is super cool," and then all the reviews came out, and they're like, "I cannot type on this."
Oh yeah, that stupid yoga laptop with the screen keyboard. Oh, that was really terrible.
I think
really bad.
Michael reviewed it, and he trashed it super hard. Also because the Android one was like 2 major versions out of date. So that was fun.
Yeah.
I really wanted one of those Toshiba, what were they, the librettos back in college? That was the dual screen Windows laptop. I wanted one of those so bad.
So the one does not have a selfie cam, right? Like I would actually be okay with that. I don't really
so
take
you know
selfies.
what was pointed out, I forget, it was Ryan. I think it was Ryan that pointed out, is that it has a mirror finish back, and so you can take selfies with it because it has the mirror finish back. So clever.
The phone comes with a tiny little mirror, and you just hold the mirror in front of the camera to take a selfie.
Yeah.
It's the future of phones.
I mean, it's not as good as a viewfinder, but it's a thing. So the Vivo version is not even a real phone; it's a concept phone. I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't exist.
Last year's Apex did end up being brought to market, but only in China, right?
Yeah, I mean that's Vivo's only real market is China. So of course.
Yeah, but that was neat. Nobody wants this.
I'm kind of. I would try it. I would try it.
Ryan, you try the worst phones.
I do.
You do like stupid things for the sake of their stupidity.
I think MIUI is fine.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what?
I'm kicking Ryan from. Yeah, I'm kicking Ryan from the call. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So fun story. Xiaomi sent me a Mix 3, and I emailed them, and I'm like, yeah, I can't review this. This is too bad. Oh, you're doing the thing? It's my favorite thing. Hold on. In unison.
My ears hurt.
I don't know. They were sending a courier to take that back.
No, they're sending a shipping label. I'm not going to use it though.
I have that, and I have this Oppo phone with the motorized Johnny John on the top.
Oh God, I don't have one of those. I want it though.
It's very neat.
Full disclosure: Oppo is flying me to. I guess I can say is MWC. They have an event. I can't say for what. But, like they're going to do a thing. So I'm very curious about that. Whatever it is, they haven't said.
It's a weird flex, but okay, David.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. I wonder if it doesn't have any ports. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. So these no port phones, like I think it's interesting because like the idea that that is the iPhone 5 years from now. Absolutely right. Like I think Apple will keep the buttons because I think Apple likes it's tactile. Assuming Joni Ive's still alive. Or whatever. I don't know how old Joni Ive is because he is a bald British man, and it's impossible to tell.
They put him in that white room that sustains his life force, so he's immortal. Yeah, he's not allowed out of the white room.
I honestly think Apple can just come up with an AI version of his voice to say whatever they need to, and no need for any real Joni Ives anymore.
That's always good for voiceovers.
So I do think that wireless charging is very cool, and if they can make it faster and also not make your phone get like nuclear reactor hot, that would be good. I do think that the ubiquity isn't there yet. I think Apple's trying to solve that. Honestly, one of the most altruistic things Apple has done is putting the shitty, crappy wireless charging we have right now in their phones. Like, it's a terrible experience. It takes forever to charge anything, but Apple understands that the only way you're going to make it popular is you got to put in the phones, and you're going to get in the public spaces. You're going to get it in, the communal areas. People are going to start keeping them in their homes, and that's the way you start. So I think it is important that way, and good on Apple for using a largely compatible standard for it. And that is the first step to the portless phone, which I know is what Apple wants, because you know what? Their whole message right now is security. If you can take the data port off of a phone, you can sell a security message that a lot of people can't. Turn off your iPhone, and it's inaccessible to anybody.
The one thing I wouldn't be able to handle with a wireless charging only phone is like any kind of portability. Like I'm, going places and need to charge my phone in a bag, and like, what am I supposed to do then? Bring like
Battery
rubber bands?
case. Battery case.
Battery case, great. And like they have these
Hey,
phones.
did you
with
know Apple
reverse
sells
wireless
battery
charging.
cases?
Yeah. Great. And they have these phones with reverse wireless charging, and like, what do you like? That only works on a table. Like you would need to rubber band them together in a bag, or like I'll use a phone when it's plugged
Oh,
in.
it's
and charging.
super unreliable too. Somebody tried to demo the Huawei version of it to me, and like it was so hard to make it actually work. It's not reliable.
Yeah, it seems like when you're like stacking a Jenga tower, like you have to get everything to line up just perfectly and balance on top of each other, because none of the backs of these phones are flat or stable or anything. It's ridiculous.
No, totally. I definitely agree with that. It's a weird trend. But I think it's where phones are headed. Brief story this week about Project Stream. It's dead.
Is dead. Although people don't want us to say it's dead. They got very upset that we said that it's dead, but it's dead. And actually it died last week and we didn't notice, but whatever.
Yeah. Google took it offline, and you can no longer play Assassin's Creed on Project Stream. Basically, from our understanding, Project Stream is about testing a concept for a at-home console Google wants to sell called Project Yeti. And we don't know any more than that at this point. So eventually you'll get your Assassin's Creed code if you played for over an hour. I did not, because honestly, I didn't like the game very much.
Same, yeah. They called it a technical test though, so we kind of expected it to shut down after a minute. Like it didn't shut down because it was a failure.
Yeah.
It was just,
this was expected. This was This wasn't a random death. This was a timed death. This was a prearranged death. This was Dr. Kevorkian. This was euthanasia. They knew it was going to end.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm curious if they fire it back up with the new game. Like,
what if they fire it back up with like the worst possible game? Like they fire it back up and it's like the Atari ET, and that's all you can play.
Yeah. So our next story is about Android Q sim locking, and it's super boring. You should just go to our site, just look up Android Q and sim locking, and you can read the website. It's honestly,
Thanks,
like I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. But you know what I do want to talk about that does relate to gaming is I think everybody today has watched at least some of the,
oh my god,
of the Google the DeepMind Starcraft thing.
Oh my god.
Oh man, it was crazy.
This honestly, is now a Starcraft podcast.
It was one of the most I don't watch.
I will talk for hours about this.
Oh, it's so interesting. Honestly, like it blew my mind. And I don't like esports. I don't like watching competitive gaming. I don't care. I also don't even like StarCraft very much. Like StarCraft, don't get me wrong, it's a great RTS, but like I'm not interested in competitive multiplayer play. Anyway, Google today was like, hey, so we maybe developed a bot that can play StarCraft, and it uses 20 high-end GPUs and a machine learning algorithm, and hey, we put it against some professional StarCraft players, and it went 10-0 until the exhibition match where it lost.
Until
But
it stopped cheating.
yeah, it was kind of cheating before. But I mean, it just goes to show that I think the team behind it doesn't really understand what cheating means in that context. Like they didn't know. But honestly, it was one of the most ludicrous displays I've ever seen.
It was pretty sweet.
My
And actually, they said it was.
my favorite stat was that they said it played 200 years of StarCraft in a week.
Yes. Yeah,
But the
and I'm
20
sure they just need like 2 more weeks with the non-hacked camera, and it would still kick everybody's ass. Like, it's clear that, like, oh, it lost, but it lost because it was being dumb, not because like there was some kind of fatal flaw with the system. It could come up with a new strategy, I'm sure.
The most impressive part was the 20 GPUs were only used for training. The games were being run on a single off-the-shelf GPU, he said. That was
Wow.
impressive. Yes. Wow.
So what was fascinating to me were some of the kind of special stats. Number one, it couldn't react faster than a human player.
50 milliseconds.
Yeah, so it had average response time for a professional StarCraft player. It had below average actions per minute. APMs.
I take issue with that.
Really? Why?
Yes. They spoke in terms of average actions per minute, and it hit a burst actions per minute of 1,500 like clicks a minute. And like, yes, humans get that high, but when humans get that high, it's because they're doing like warm-ups at the beginning of the match and just mashing buttons to like warm up their fingers. This thing was doing a burst APM of 1,500 with computer-like precision. So I think what was going on is when like a heavy battle was happening, it was able to perfectly control more than one screen's worth of units and would just roll the pro players
Right.
when it came to like these little
The
battle
micro.
actions. I don't think they really understood the limitations that a human StarCraft player has.
They didn't. They really didn't. And I definitely agree with that. Even if somebody doesn't play StarCraft, but is a lifelong video gamer, what I recognize immediately is like you have basically what the issue is. They don't understand that when you're a human playing these games, you're a single person with a single thread. You know, basically, the human brain is not multi-thread. The human brain can do one thing at a time. And with a computer, though, you can essentially, even if it's not true multi-thread, you can hop between things so quickly that you can essentially do 3, 4, 5, 6 things at a time. And that is the advantage it had in all of the initial matches where it won every single time. And eventually, in the first set of matches where it went 5-0, there's nothing about what it did that seemed especially non-human. It used strategy.
I don't know about that. There was that fight in the 4th or the 5th game where he had more powerful units, he had more units, didn't matter.
No, I don't think so. I honestly think in the first set of matches, nothing that happened was really weird. Like, it did some things that were strange and probably that a person wouldn't predict. But the way it handled fighting, it still used a single mob of units to do most of its work. In the second set of matches, when it went against the Protoss Pro, that
was what I was talking about. Yeah,
that's when the whole thing where it fucking split everything up into different groups. Like it used squad strategy basically to tear them apart.
And the micro was insane.
It was microing like 3 groups of stalkers in an area that is wider than the view of a camera.
Yes.
Like it was so definitely doing superhuman, like cheating burst APM. And of course it won. They could have done a way better job. Like the average APM was fine. The burst APM was superhuman. When stuff got crazy, it could keep up. And that's wrong. Like a human would drop actions and mess up. And
definitely. No, without a doubt. There's no way a real person could control that. That said, out of all the matches that happened, I think 2 of the ones they showed in that set really that was a factor. The other ones were strategy based, where basically the machine executed a strategy that was just the player didn't anticipate very well. And that's what's still scary about it, is like the machine is so good based on the matches it's watched, which is how the initial training happened. It watches pro matches, thousands of them, and then they fight each other all of the models they make from the pro matches, and then they pick the best models to fight the player. That's crazy to me. But
And the players all fought like 5 different
Yep.
models. Like they
Yeah.
they had a group of winning models and would just throw different ones at the player. And they weren't really aware of that. And I think they were trying some like human metagame stuff.
I think
that-
otherwise the opening
doesn't
gambit would have all been the same, because until it got input, it would have just done the same actions. So they wanted to have these different models to
Yeah,
toss out.
I would be really interested to see when the human players play the same model 5 times.
Yeah.
To see what happens. That didn't happen. The other thing is, so at the end of it, so they had 10 matches. The machine won all 10. So one guy was not a Protoss pro in StarCraft, but he's a StarCraft pro. He's a Zerg pro, but the machine has only learned Protoss v Protoss, or Protoss v Protoss, however you
And
wanna
only
pronounce
on
it.
one map. It was like
Yeah.
very limited. to
Only on one map,
this
yeah.
specific thing.
They said they did that just in the interest of time. And after the end of the stream, they're like, listen, we could train it with any race, any map, but we did this because like we were in a time crunch.
There
and,
were an odd amount of self-imposed time limitations. It's like it's not like anybody's competing with you. Like if you need an
Yeah.
extra 2 months to train, do it.
Yeah, but I think they were just curious because they didn't know if it would
Yeah.
win. Like they had no idea. And so that was what was kind of fun about it. Anyway, so all those 10 matches, the machine did almost all of its work directly from the tactical map view. It was so good at just watching the pixel by pixel movements. It could do everything.
It was
from
map
the tactical map. Yeah, it's essentially map hacking. Yeah, because a human could never do that.
If a human had access to this, it would be declared that they were cheating and they would be banned.
Yes,
Map
definitely.
hacking is like the most common way to cheat at StarCraft.
Yeah. So, I mean, what happened though, so at the end of it, they did an 11th match, which was an exhibition match. And in that version, they removed the ability of the machine to look at the tactical view. And so it had to use camera view. Oddly, they never showed what the machine was seeing, like because it probably would have actually been very confusing and it would hurt your eyes.
Yeah.
Honestly, even watching a regular human flip between screens in StarCraft 2, like a pro player, makes my brain hurt. It moves
that's
way
awful.
too fast.
Games are
Yeah,
never even casted like that. There's always like an overview that's controlled by a camera
Yeah.
operator.
Yeah. So I bet the machine view was like seizure inducing. But they did do that, and they said, all right, the machine can only see from the camera view now, and that's how it's going to play. That said, the machine did very well for the first like 10 minutes. Like it actually was still implementing a lot of effective strategies. It was being pretty aggressive. And then the player figured out like it was honestly like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I couldn't do it and I'm sure I couldn't implement it. But what the pro figured out was, oh, you can bait this thing and it'll send its whole army to get a single unit, which is like the most basic RTS AI trick you can do. Like just keep somebody's army off you by just sending a single scout and being like, I'm touching your stuff. I'm touching your stuff. And they'll send the whole army to attack it. But the machine didn't account for that because apparently like it never, that's a, it's a good point. A human player would never be like, there's a single ship in my base. Obviously it's bait. He's trying to get me to avoid attacking him. That's probably not going to happen in a pro match because, like, in a pro match, nobody's dumb enough to try that. You wouldn't waste the resources. So it's not a situation that occurs. But when he tried that, it worked perfectly. And the machine kept sending back his whole army to the base to keep attacking the single airborne fighter that was just being a nuisance, basically. Where he could have sent basically two sentinels back there and they could have just watched and done it. But the machine didn't seem to understand that nuance. And at that point, basically what happened was the machine tried to use the sentinel strategy it had before. It couldn't micro as well. And once the human player had a good mix of an army, he was able to tear it apart. And once the human player was in his base, it was over. Like it was very interesting to see how the camera change really affected that, because the machine couldn't do that kind of tactical like math where it could be like, this is obviously where I've last seen the most enemies, and it was clearly lacking data. It wasn't able to act on it as well.
And it was the frustrating thing was they did that one game with the more fair camera control without cheating and map hacking. And they did it live with a new model and it lost. And they did this one game. And it's so frustrating to have the most fair setup be shown once and then have it lose. Like they said, oh, the MMR was roughly, the ranking was roughly equal to the one that had map hacking on. But they didn't show it or prove that or anything. And that was very frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll see more games. Are they going to do any more of these matches in the future?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Dota over the last couple of years with the OpenAI stuff, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I just feel like the biggest advantage that this thing had was the element of surprise, where this was the first time anybody had seen it. They weren't allowed to play that many games with it. I feel like if you threw it on the ladder or just left it out there for people to mess with, I feel like it would get figured out and defeated more than a regular human would. Like there's a subset of articles out there. And I think even DeepMind's blog post is about mastering Starcraft 2. And it's I don't think it did that great. It was very impressive that in this limited set, it could be kind of human-like, but I think a lot of that was just a limited, surprising look at it.
Well, and they said, again, this was only on one map, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's one map, one matchup.
Yeah, so just a very limited subset it's very good at.
Yeah. But I still think it was a very, very interesting.
It was curious to watch. Yeah,
it was.
Regardless of how one-sided it was.
We're used to AI being oh, it can play chess, it can play Go, where the constraints for time aren't there, the real time.
The controls are so simple.
Yeah. And so, the idea that, it's funny because you think that AI can play video games, well, duh. But then you have to realize that the way AI has traditionally worked in video games is that the system just gives it a handicap. And the more you increase difficulty, the more handicap increases. Otherwise, it's very formulaic,
Yeah,
So,
the regular AI cheats. The actual in-game Blizzard AI cheats. It has faster resource production. It can build faster. I don't think it has many map limits. It's dumb, but yeah, it's given these huge advantages.
Well,
yeah.
The other component is that the AI in every other game it's inbuilt to the game. It's not looking at it from the player's perspective, but this AI had to use the same interface and the same controls that a normal human player.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the interesting difference. So it had to figure out, what UI elements do what and stuff like that.
I think it had some kind of special Blizzard-made interface to the game. I would like to see it control a mouse. It was definitely not doing that.
Yeah,
and I think that's why we didn't see the AI view.
They got some special API for their AI.
That'd be really funny if it was an arm they use for building cars and it's just gripping a mouse going really fast back and forth.
That would be a lot more fair if they just threw it in front of the human interface, definitely. But that's how they did 200 games in a week, is because they had it on this crazy accelerated Starcraft API.
Yeah.
But there's an AMA tomorrow, and people are already asking questions. There's a bunch of good questions up about the map hacks and APM stuff and all that. It's in the machine learning subreddit. I would rather it be in the Starcraft subreddit, but yeah, we'll hopefully they answer some of the harder questions about fairness tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really interested, and I think honestly, the fairness thing, it's not like Google was trying to make the AI look better than it is. I think the issue is honestly that the team designing it doesn't really understand necessarily.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of that.
Yeah. They were very much oh, wow, it won. Cool. They didn't really seem to understand the strategies or anything. And even me as a casual gamer, not really playing StarCraft, I understood what was happening, but they didn't seem to appreciate the intricacy. Don't get me wrong, these people are mega hyper nerds who make unbelievable amounts of money, by the way. People in AI machine learning, oh my god, I don't want to say they're overcompensated, but they are. Like these people, we're talking probably like probably these people effectively make like 7-figure incomes. Like they make a lot of money doing this because it's so specialized. But you have to remember, like they're so deep in their bubble of their world. Like they probably, to them, it's like, yeah, we they're approaching the video game from a very different way than a player would trying to design, a bot that plays very well. It's very different for them. They don't probably understand the practical constraints and like what's fair and what isn't.
Yeah, everybody's saying they would love to see a zero version of this where it's not trained by watching human games and just kind of reinvents how you play StarCraft on its own. Hopefully they're going to do that next, because that's what they did when they learned Go. And that came up with really like weird and interesting strategies that the Go people had never heard of, where this played very much like a human because it was trained by humans.
Yeah, but I guess this is like a whole several orders more complicated than like Go would be from that perspective.
Oh yeah,
be
yeah.
more
It's
careful
just
with
got
the
to run
data you
into
feed.
walls, but when you
Yeah.
can do 200 years of gaming in a week, it's probably fine. Just let it run for a few months.
It's pretty interesting stuff. So I think we're nearing the end of the show. And by the way, if you would like to support the podcast, if you enjoy it, go to twitch.tv/Android Police. And if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can subscribe to our channel on Twitch for free. You'll help support the show. And it really does support us when you subscribe on Twitch. And we really appreciate it. And also, this amazing notch animation happens on the live video show whenever you subscribe. Big old Pixel 3 notch comes down on the stream. It's fantastic. So yes, thank you for listening to the Android Police podcast, and we will catch you next time. And also, special thanks to special guest Ron Amadio for joining us this week. Ron is gesturing, even though nobody watches the video.
It was a nice gesture, not the one you're thinking of. Okay.
Good night, everybody.